money comes from source, spirit, infinite intelligence, through people, through sales. That's the transaction. That's the mechanism that moves the money from one organization to another organization. Through people. You don't make money through an elephant. You could sell an elephant, but there's a person that you're selling it to. Relationships, they make the world go round. And we have relationships with so many different types of people. We have relationships with our clients. If we're in business for ourselves, if we're the founder, the CEO of a company, we have clients. We have, if you're working within an organization, a company, if you're in the C-suite, you're doing management, you're in sales, whatever your world is, you have clients that you're engaging with. They might be internal clients to the organization or external clients. We have relationships with our team, the people who work with us and for us and collaborate on getting the big projects done that we're put on this earth to do. We have relationships with our lovers, with our partners, with our kids, with our family. We have relationships with ourselves, and we have relationships with our businesses or the projects that we're engaged with. And we have relationships with spirit or source or the universe, that a relationship with God, if you will. And all of our good, if you will, comes through these relationships. Now, all of our not so good also comes through our relationships, which is very interesting to think about. And we're going to dig into the law of vibration around this and the process that I use to up-level my relationships and have them pointed and focused on the good rather than the things that aren't so great, that I would rather be different, that I'd rather improve. So I'm Amira Alvarez. I am the founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman. And thank you for tuning in to the Unstoppable Woman podcast. I am super excited that you're here and that you tuned in. And please subscribe, like, pass this on to your friends. I would love for you. I'd be so grateful to you if you did all those things. It really helps us bring this message, this teaching to more and more people. So thank you for that in advance. Let's go back to this idea of what we desire from our relationship. So oftentimes we will have a relationship with someone. Let's say it's your client, or let's say it's your husband or wife or lover or boyfriend or girlfriend, or you choose. We have a relationship with someone and it feels a little constricted. It doesn't seem to be going the way we want it to go. Maybe, by and large, it's going really well, but there's a small percentage of it that you don't like, or maybe the whole thing is it's like got you hooked and you're just not feeling good about it. You're stressed about it. You're reactive about it. Maybe you're feeling defensive and wanting to push back or tell them that they need to change and put conditions and boundaries on the relationship. All of that stuff we're going to throw into the negative side. You know what that feels like. It does not feel good. And this can be a large percentage of the relationship or just a small aspect of it, but you're someone who's got that growth mindset and wants to ever be expanding and improving. So you're looking to up-level your relationships. Well, that's a really important piece, but how do you do that? How do you step out of this idea that they need to change to make me happy, right? Like you're not feeling good. You're feeling that negative energy. And you're saying that relationship isn't good. And you're pointing your finger at the relationship, and really you're pointing your finger at that person, but it's both. And you're like, that needs to change for me to feel better. Well, you're evolved and okay, well, I know I'm 100% personally responsible for all my outcomes. So I need to change, but how do you go about doing that? What's the process? Show me the how. Don't just tell me like, okay, I need to change. So that's what we're really going to do today. And this is, again, I want to reiterate this point that your good can come from all of these relationships. And I remember learning this in particular around money and how to move money in this world. You know, if you run your own business, or even if you don't, I've helped so many women who are in corporate really get much more significant comp packages and grow their careers, grow their impact, grow their significance in their lives. And so not just for people who work for themselves by any means, but if you want to move money, I learned that money comes from source, spirit, infinite intelligence, the non-form, all the energy that is, through people, through sales. Oh, isn't that interesting? So let's talk about sales for a moment, just ever so briefly. In business for yourself, if you run your own organization or company, you know what sales do for you, right? That's the transaction. That's the mechanism that moves the money from one organization to another organization, or one person to another person. In a corporation, for when you're thinking about, well, what about I'm an employee or I work for a company? That interview process, that negotiation process, when you are looking for a higher comp package, that is a sale. Okay. Just you have to think of it across the board like that. This isn't really a conversation about sales, but I want to talk about that in respect to this concept of money comes from spirit, source, the infinite, all the energy that is through people, through sales. So we've talked about the non-form, all the money that ever was and ever will be is here, and it's here now, right? Like this idea of the quantum, the infinite, the universes upon universes, right? That's all here now. And you have to recognize that. And then you know that the transaction or the mechanism is sales. But what's the segue between the two? What's the process? Well, it's through people. You don't make money through an elephant. You could sell an elephant, but there's a person that you're selling it to. So that was a very interesting concept to me. I was like, oh, I got to get good with my relationships with people. I have to up level my relationships with people. Now, I will tell you, I'm not perfect in my relationships with people. I screw up, I mess up. I'm not at all like some guru on a hill who has perfect relationships, but I have come so far and have up-leveled them so much. And I want to share with you my process for this, because I think it's really, really important. And it uses the law of vibration. Okay. And I want you to understand what that is so that you can recognize it in yourself. So first, an overview of the process. Okay. And I use the sales example, but really all good comes through people. Okay. So if you want more good in your life, think about that. Okay. Now, I could make an argument for you could sit and meditate, and you could connect to spirit, source, the infinite, and you could have a lot of good coming through to you in that moment. Okay. That feels amazing when you're tapped in like that. That said, in this 3D plane, when you want to create manifestations, let's say the things in your life that you would like that feel like a stretch for you, that's a good that you're going to want to recognize. We live in a relational society. There are three questions really, that you need to ask in this process. What are my prominent relationships, like the current and consistent relationships that you have right now? Now, you can ask a different question, which is, which relationships are hooky right now? If you want to just work on the ones that are causing you a little consternation. But there's probably relationships that are mostly good, but there's like a little place that you want to up level. That's where the bigger question comes in. So you just want to identify, what are the most prominent relationships in your life? Is it with your kids? Is it with your partner? Is it with your team members, a particular team member? Is it the COO of your organization? Is it the swim coach? Whatever it is, like, what is a prominent relationship for you right now? And sometimes they're just current, like you're in some weird email chat with the swim coach, right? And this is a totally made up example. I don't have kids and I'm not engaging with a swim coach right now. But let's say you are in an email conversation with them right now that's like not going well. The communication is poor. That would be something that's current. Okay. They're not like the most consistent person in your life. They're not going to be in your life necessarily forever unless they become part of your family or part of your friends network, right? So think about that. What are my prominent relationships right now? And then how do I want them to be? So you would list out all your prominent relationships. How do I want them to be? And in this, there's a few sub questions, both how do you want the relationship to be? And how do you want the other person to be? Okay. What are the attributes that you're really looking for? And yes, this goes to like, okay, I want them to be different. I want the conditions outside of me to be different. But go with me here. You need to get it out of your system in a very neutrally articulated way. So then the third question is, how can I focus on being that now? And by that, I mean that which you want the other person to be. Okay. So there's always a mirror. There's always a vibrational match. And if the other person is acting in a way that isn't what you want, or the relationship itself isn't what you want, then you are actually a vibrational match to what you don't want. And you need to change that, because that's how the law of vibration works. We're always a vibrational match with that which we are experiencing. Now, sometimes it's a vibrational match that matched who you were 6 months ago, 10 years ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 days ago, yesterday. And it's just catching up now. But if you don't let it go past you, it will fester and build. And I've had that experience plenty of times. It's not fun. You're like, why am I creating this? And you get in a loop about that. But this is really the way forward instead of going into that loop. Okay. There's two ways to do this process. One is just do the whole list and do it with everyone on the list, or you could just do it with the people who feel kind of hooky for you, where you're having some feeling of constraint. You will know if it's a negative relationship or which aspect of that relationship is negative by how it makes you feel. It's either open and flowing or constraint feeling. You'll feel like, my freedom is limited. I feel smaller. I feel tight inside. The negative emotions of our lives, overwhelmment, frustration, irritation, anger, judgment, blame, all of that, disappointment, all of that feels like a coming in and a constraint, like we have to protect ourselves and defend, but it's a tightening. All the positive emotions like joy and happiness and being in the flow and feeling connected and loving life and having a love of life, that those all feel like open flow. So you know what this feels like. Okay. So just articulate what that is. And then ask yourself these questions. Now I'm going to give you a few examples of how I've done this. You can do this. By the way, you can do this with your business also, or a project, right? If that were the case, you would ask, what are the components or channels of my business or my career or my organization or my project? And you would write all of those out. And then you would find out, you would plug into it. You would think about each one and feel into it and say, is that open or closed? Does that feel open and in flow, or closing and constraining? And on the constraining ones, you would ask yourself then, how do I actually want them to be? Now, this forces a level of clarity that most people are unwilling to approach. They just want to be frustrated. They just want to complain. No one says, I just want to complain. Okay. I don't say I just want to complain, but I find myself, oh my God, I'm just in that frustrated place and I'm unwilling to stop, pause, and do the clarity work that's required to move through it. Instead, when I am working at the level that I want to be working at, which is most of the time, but I'm human and I lose track of things just like the next person. I go in and I ask myself, well, how do I really want it to be? And I slow down the process and I get good with that. Okay. And then how can I focus myself on being that which I desire now? And I come up with a whole list and plan. And I can do that with my business, the projects, or my relationships, all of that. So I came up with a few examples to share with you, and we'll put together maybe a little PDF for this so that you guys can see it, like have a fill in the blank PDF to download and see and work along with me. So if you want that, we'll put that in the show notes, and I'm going to just make up on the fly the URL. So it's going to be theunstoppablewoman.com/relate, RELATE. Okay. Here, what I did was I did it with my relationship with myself. So I could have easily done this with my relationship with a particular person or, and something in my business. But in this case, I did it with myself. So I asked myself, how do I want the relationship with myself to be? And instantaneously, I got the words, the hit, loving, kind, exuberant. Because quite frankly, that's what my spirit says. That's what my soul says. Okay. And then I realized that I have a relationship with my spirit and my source that is like that. But like, what do I want the relationship with my physical self to be? And by physical self, I meant my body or my appearance, because like most women, there's a mixed bag there, right? We've been conditioned to have a real mixed bag around how we relate to our body. 9 times out of 10, I'm like, ooh, I love my body. I think my body is hot and sexy and good and all of that. But then there are times where I'm like, oh, no, what's wrong with my body? And that's this crazy body dysmorphia that women in our society have. So I was like, how do I want my relationship with my body to be? And I wrote down loving, appreciative, proud, kind, and supportive. So I wanted to be in relationship with my body in a very kind and supportive way. I wanted it to be loving and appreciative. And I wanted us to be proud of each other. Okay. If I gave my body like a separate entity kind of way of being. And I wanted to have it come with gentleness and kindness and with so much love and appreciation. So there's a little bit of repetitiveness there. Oh, and then I went deeper. Okay. How do I want the attributes of my body to be? Right. So if I'm asking my body, if I'm thinking, how do I not just want the relationship with my body to be, but how do I want my body to show up? Right. Like if you're thinking, how do I want the other person to be? How do I want the attributes of my body to be? Okay. So then my answer was healthy, glowing, vibrant, alive, happy, at ease, strong, beautiful, relaxed, open, having that open, delicious feeling, in love with my body. I wanted to feel in love with my body, but the attributes were all these other things. Okay. So then I asked myself that third question, how can I focus on being that now? And it was like, what gives me that delicious feeling, that delicious open feeling when you're like in love with your body, right? And you love life. And I realized that there were 3 pretty key things that I do that give me that delicious feeling. One is meditation. The second is working out. And the third is being appreciative and loving to myself. When I do those 3 things, I feel so much better, okay, about myself. And I have that delicious feeling of like feeling in love with life and like turned on and just having that sort of life force running through me. So, and that's what I want to feel in relationship with my body. So then I'm like, oh, I know how to get on the vibration of how I want my body to be and how I want my relationship with my body to be. Both things. So once I started to recognize the connection there, then I know exactly what I need to do differently to put me on the vibration of what I want that relationship with my body and my actual body to be. So it's changed so much, and I love that. Okay, then if we're going to keep going forward here, I wanted to give you another example, and that is the relationship with my conditioned self. Okay. Because I was in a little bit of a loopy thought with my conditioned self around, I was in a hooked thinking pattern. I was like, I really would love my conditioned self to be different, right? And not be in that looped thought pattern. And so I was like, okay, how do I want, again, back to those questions, how do I want my conditioned self to be? I want my conditioned self to be gentle, kind, understanding, loving, compassionate, right? Not that critical self-talk in my head. I want my conditioned self to be accepting, loving, more at ease. Okay. Then I ask myself, well, how can I focus on being that now? I just ask the next question. And the answers that I got, which are ones that I've shared with my clients many, many times before, but we need to hear it again and again and do this work. There you go again. Like, oh, just noticing. Oh, there you go again. I noticed I win. That's great. You win because you noticed. Okay, look, you're in a pattern. Okay. I would suggest a gentler approach. Like if I'm both my conditioned self and my evolved self, like I am that's the conversation I'm having with my conditioned self. I would suggest a gentler approach. Oh, that's not necessary for me to love you. Like to say that, like that level of criticism is not necessary for me to love you, because we go into this critical self-talk because we're trying to protect ourselves from not being loved and trying to get love. And there's a whole dynamic there. Like you can let go of that. That's easy. You don't have to do that to be loved. No need to worry about that or be concerned with that. That's all going to work. Like things always work out for me. You can release that, and so on and so forth. Like I have love would be a better approach. Love is really the only approach. And I just went through all the things that how my evolved self could show up in relationship to my conditioned self. And if I am that now, that's the new vibration. That's a stronger vibration. And my conditioned self will meet that. And I've done that many, many times and it works. Of course, you'll get hooked again. Something will trigger you. We're not here for perfection. We're here for the growth, for the more life, for the evolving of self. So that's the process that I wanted to share with you in terms of how to change your relationships with others. And by others, I mean other people. I also mean your relationship with yourself. You could do this with your relationship with spirit or source if it needs a little love from your end. You could do this with your relationship with your business or the projects that you're doing. So use it well. Again, we'll pull together a PDF for you. And if you want to download it, the URL is going to be theunstoppablewoman.com/relate, RELATE. And have fun with this. Again, please, if you like this, please like it, subscribe, leave a comment, engage with the material. We love that. We love hearing how you've used it. If you have questions about the material, please let us know that as well. And then, of course, share this. And that would be fantastic. Okay. I'm Amira Alvarez. I am the founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.